Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Tone down the music a bit. How's it going? How we doing today? Hi there. Hi. It's me. It's Halfd0rk. Welcome in. So, without, I guess, spoiling too much, we're going to be talking about presets today. And I've got some experiments that we're going to learn together and figure out how we can make presets and improve our experiences. The best way to define what a preset is well, something that was pre-made, something that you created, and now you're using it in other ways, perhaps even like a template. That's the best way to describe a preset. So we're gonna make a couple of different examples. So I have like a little demonstration on screen, but we'll get back into that in a second. So first of all, welcome everyone watching the live show. My name's Halfd0rk. I'm your instructor today. I've made over 8 games so far, so I've stumbled my way through the first couple months, but you know, I'm using that experience to help educate and teach you all through SandStorm. So SandStorm has given me this platform to help educate, and so I hope to answer any questions you guys might have when it comes to game development in the sandbox, as well as, you know, provide an open forum where you can ask questions and get answers in real time. So thank you for watching SandStorm Meetup, and we're over on Twitch, SandStorm Meetup, YouTube, as well as Twitter, where you can watch us live. If you're watching the recording, that's over on YouTube. Still, feel free to ask your questions. Also, I'd like to invite you to check out our Discord. So the Sandstorm Meetup Discord is a great way to ask any of your questions, whether it be Game Maker, Vox Edit, and what have you. So yeah, today we're going to be looking at presets. Please do feel free to ask questions of any nature. It doesn't have to be preset related or kind of experiment. Please, again, welcome in. My name's Halfd0rk. We're going to go ahead and get started, and we're just going to walk through what presets can do. I see a lot of friendly faces. Escape Room Artist, Vitefo, 476, what's up? Garnican, Cinzia, welcome. Bajorn, how you doing? Slaterade, thank you again. Slaterade is my excellent producer. He helps guide the show and what we should be doing. So, yeah, so what we're going to set up today, and just at a first glance, we're going to try and make, you know, one of those Russian dolls where we're going to break this rock, and when we break it, it's going to make a smaller rock. Then we're going to break that smaller rock and make an even smaller one. And then finally, we can pick up the last one. So that'll be our first experiment. We're also going to have some mushrooms that when we interact with them, they'll turn into people. That sounds like a psychedelic trip. And then maybe we'll do something with this egg. If you guys have any, you know, ideas, let me know. I also want to shout out Touche. These are his assets, which I used in one of my games that was built for his game jam. So shout out to the Fungi family. So that's some of these custom assets, such as these carrots. So we're also going to make a quest where we're turning in carrots. And so we'll probably pick them up out of the ground. And when we pick them up using presets, it turns them into a collectible carrot that has a unique model. And then lastly, we might do something similar with the corn, but this time we'll instead have to attack them rather than pick them up. So let's go ahead and get started. Yeah, an asset spawner chain, Bajorn, that's the idea. So, Elsa Bryan asks, how many quests do you consider is enough for a game jam? Generally speaking, oh, I'm over here. Generally speaking, you'll want to have like 5 to 10. I think any more than that, it's too lengthy. Any less than that, and the player is going to want more. I would say 5 to 10 is probably the best bet. But some quests are going to be more difficult than others. The sweet spot, which has been kind of more or less debated, but 15 minutes to 25 minutes. That's the amount of time you want a first-time player to spend in your game. When you are under that, it feels, you know, a little lackluster. But if you go over that, you also get this sense of frustration and like you're not doing enough, you're not doing well. So you want 15 minutes to 25 minutes gameplay is what I would aim for, rather than, you know, like quest number. And so that was a number told to me by Kamisaze. So Kamisaze is Alex Flores. Kamisaze is like his social media handle. But yeah, like that was like the kind of agreed upon time limit with a lot of the sandbox influencers. Of course, Elsa Brian. And any questions, feel free. So the first thing we're going to start with, and making a preset comes with like understanding where to start. So a preset, we have this button here, which was in previous Game Maker versions, but it just wouldn't work. I personally started in season 1, and that was December of last year, and we did not have presets at that time. I was informed presets were before my time, but they had to remove them for bugs and such. So now that we have them again, this is your menu. So your preset menu is this square on the top left here. I actually didn't even find it without help because I was like, I don't see any new buttons. And it's because they had disabled that button. So it went over my head. And so once we make a preset, which we'll go ahead and make a sample one right now. This is going to be our rock chain. Sure. So we've named it rock chain. Now, if we wanted to find the preset, which we're going to be using this a couple times throughout today, you'll open up your inventory. I like to use the shortcut for inventory, which is L. So hitting L on my keyboard, or using this little arrow key down here, you'll want to hide your webcam so you can see behind your fat head, and click this preset tab here. And so when you do, you're going to see the presets you've set up for this particular game. Hey Chris, thanks for the follow, appreciate it. Welcome in. So this preset we've already set up, but it's not working properly. It's just a demonstration. So that's where you would go to find your presets. Okay, bring the fat head back. Cool, we're back. Nice. Serious question, how would you approach a boost mechanic? So like a Mario Kart shroom. Yeah, Bajorn, that's a very complicated question and something we don't really have an easy answer for you. My probably first solution, and this might be like an experiment that we can visit after we finish the presets today, but I would use a platform that goes at maximum speed just for a brief moment and then stops. So it's like the player will probably be moving in one direction, and when they hit a certain direction, a platform underneath them will take them immediately, like 5 feet in front of you, and so then it stops when it reaches there. So that's something you could set up, but that was just my first troubleshooting idea there. So now that we understand, here's where you can upload a preset, so this button on the left, and then in your inventory is where you can drag and drop it onto the field. So there's basically two ways, or two, I should say, menus for a preset. Again, you have your top left, where it's this toolbar here. So that's going to be your preset menu to make a preset. And you have to have an asset selected. One thing to note is you cannot preset anything with your spawn point. So this is your avatar, like default spawn point. It has this blue icon above it. You cannot preset that at all. So you couldn't like bundle things together, which, by the way, you can in fact bundle things together as a preset. It's actually a ingenious way to use presets to decorate. So for example, and this is super simple, I set this up before the show, we're going to make a preset of this kind of like scene setting right here. So it's like rocks and grass and cactus. Let's say I want to decorate my entire desert here. We can take this, we can make a preset. We'll do create new. This will be desert scene. Click done. We'll open up my inventory, and we can see the desert scene has its own unique icon, and we can just drag and drop it anywhere we like. So it's kind of like a easy way to decorate. If you have like a lot of assets that maybe like decorate a room, or perhaps like a scene, a setting, a desert. So that's one way to use presets that we can just gloss over real quick. But let's go ahead and make our Russian stacking rock doll. Hey, Maxi Mag, what's up, dude? Welcome in. Yeah, Bajorn, I would love to see that too. Cool, so with our Russian stacking doll, what we need to do is have a way to break this So we're going to make a drop behavior here, I believe is what we're going to need. And so when we defeat this rock, so we do need to give it a health component. We're going to, for testing purposes, keep it low health points, like 5. And so when we defeat it, we're going to make it type of drop behavior. And so we're going to set up another asset and another asset and another asset. So basically we're making presets within presets with this first example. So it might seem a little complicated at first, and this is a fun experiment. So if you guys have questions or need me to slow down, let me know. But this is actually one of my first attempts at making something like this. So what we want to do is we want to drop the next boulder in line. So I think what will happen is we'll work our way up. So this is going to be our last item. And as such, we actually don't need to make a preset for it. Instead, we'll start with this one. So when we defeat this small object, it's going to drop our, what's the name of it? Boulder Small. And these were made by Touche. Shout out to him. So this will have 1 point of health. And this one we can use the preset, or we don't, excuse me, let me rephrase. The preset is going to be for the previous two. This one, because we're not adjusting anything with this super small boulder, we can just make it drop the super small boulder. We don't have to add anything unique to the super small boulder. Super small. So, just to recap, we're defeating, so we're breaking this rock. When we do, it's going to drop our boulder. Great, that one's already pretty much set up. And we can collect it too. Yeah, we'll even add a sound. Why not? All right, so this is already set. Like this is, if we were looking at it from, the big scale of things, this is going to be our third preset, but we have to make it first so that we can attach it to the second one. And then when the second one's finished, we can attach it to the first one. So we work backwards to get, the full picture. So it's kind of like working our way up. So great, this one's set up. So we're going to make a new preset from this one. This is going to be rock part 3. We'll do P3. So now that we have our P3 rock, what's going to happen is we just break it. It drops a rock. That rock, we can even give, I think, a tag if it'll allow us. Yep, here we go. So we'll pick up the rock, once we defeat this one. So let's go ahead and set real quick. I just want to make sure it works. Attack this thing. There we go. Great. And we get to pick up that small rock. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and move to the next part. So again, we're doing a drop component. So that means when we destroy it, it's going to spawn or drop an item. And we can make it spawn a character. We can make it spawn pretty much any asset you can think of. What's up? What's up, Sparky? Welcome in. So this time, we're going to make a preset as the option here. We also need to give it the health component. We'll do 5 health points. And so using the preset drop, we can now exchange that for our P3. So again, we're working our way up. So this is going to be our P2 rock. And so we can also make a sound when it, destroys itself. We can do like a battle sound, sure. And you can also associate messages with your health components, and those will carry over into the presets. So it's worth noting that whatever preset you're making is attached specifically to this experience, not your account. So you couldn't go into, another game you're working on and find those presets. Unfortunately, that is not how it works. Instead, all of your presets are inside of this experience. So that means all the messages will already work, so long as they're, connected to something. So yeah, we're destroying this rock, and we already made this smaller rock, our P3 rock, part 3, that will destroy itself and reveal the final small fragment. So just to recap what this P2 rock is going to do, it has 5 health. When we destroy it, it's dropping the already pre-made rock 3. Great, that should be good to go. Lastly, we want to make the preset. So this will be, all I did was I selected the only asset, only this P2. And we're going to, with it selected, open up our preset menu. We'll do create new. And we'll do rock P2. So part 2. Great. So now that that's set up, we can go to our last, or I should say our first rock, the one that we start with. And so this one, we already attached those components, the drop and the health. And now we're going to give it the preset to where when we destroy it, so on death, the drop condition on death, it's going to drop P2. And so part 2 happens. Part 2 has the preset already inside of it to drop the third and final rock. Cool. And we can give it a cool sound just for fun. I don't think you guys will be able to hear the sound the way our stream is set up today, but you can, in fact, add a sound to your presets. Okay, everything looks good here. So all we did was we added the preset and a health component so that when we destroy it, when we break the rock, it's going to spawn the next one that we had set up, and then vice versa. So now we can add our final rock. So we'll do rock P1. And for added fun, we'll go ahead and assort these rocks before we delete them, so we can, start from scratch. And I'm going to select all 3 of them, go back to our presets menu, and then I'm going to click our rock chain once more, the one we first set up, and rename it to rock chain. And so now I have a pre-set up kind of scene here with our presets. So I can go again to my inventory, which is this little white arrow at the bottom, or L. So if you hit L on your keyboard, it'll also open your inventory. And then just hiding my camera real quick, we can see that there is a tab on the left side of the screen for presets. So that's where you'll find the ones that you set up. And much like adding anything from your inventory, you click it and you place it on the screen. I'm curious if you can add it to your hotbar. It looks like you can. You can add configurations, presets to your hotbar. So with our rock chain, we can place it on the screen here. It looks like I have a couple duplicates here. Let's try one more time. Great, so everything looks good here. Let's go ahead and try destroying our rocks, see what happens. So if I approach our large rock by destroying it, it spawns the medium rock. If I destroy the medium rock, it spawns the small rock. And then if I destroy the small rock, it spawns the small rock. And then I can finally pick up the small rock. I'm pretty strong if I can break rocks into tiny fragments. Hi, Vivox, welcome in. So we can take this another step further and perhaps drop more than one asset. So now that we have that set up, let's go ahead and take another look at our super small rocks. So we had our large rock, which we only want one of to begin with. We can maybe make this one into 2. So with our second largest rock, we're instead going to adjust the scene here. So we're going to make 2 rocks instead of 1. So we'll go ahead and to our preset menu. We'll select rock P2 and rename it accordingly. So now, much like how we demonstrated, we have a new scene. And so the scene that is shown by these white icons, so that represents there's multiple assets in our preset. So now, when we destroy this large rock, it's going to spawn our scene. Hey, thanks for the follow. Welcome in. And then finally, with our rock P1, we're going to want 2 from that. So the way it'll work is we break this rock, it spawns 2 rocks. Then each of these 2 rocks, it'll spawn 2 rocks of its own. So that'll mean 4 total rocks we can pick up. And so we'll have these side by side. So again, because we're spawning 2, each of those will spawn 2 of its own. So that'll make 4 of the small ones total. So we only need to make, you know, these 2 together. And then we'll go ahead and go open up our preset menu once more. And with both of them selected, this is our P3. We'll overwrite that one. So if everything was set up correctly, when I hop in, I can break this rock, and it's going to spawn 2 rocks. I break the 2 rocks, it spawns 4 rocks. If I break the 4 rocks, it spawns 4 small rocks. So we can take that one step further and, you know, make a new preset with our teeny tiny rocks. It does appear that my assets aren't loading the overlay, so I might have to reset real quick. Game maker bugs are bound to happen, guys. We're in alpha. Hi, TD Animator. Is that the 0.7? Yes, it is. Have you tried it yourself, TD? And so we're experimenting with presets today. So with these smaller rocks, what we'll do is we can make, you know, a variation. We can rotate them. Maybe we'll have them like kind of offset a little bit like that. Then we can select them and we'll make a new preset. So this will be rock P4. We have to click the create new, and then this is where we'll label it. So now we can go back to our rock P3. So with the rock P3, we can see that it is spawning right now the small boulders, but instead we're going to change it to the preset, and each one of these we want to drop the P4. So I hope that made sense for everybody about, you know, making kind of a Russian nesting doll is the best way to describe what we've just made. And so now that we've kind of set up that last part of our chain, we just need to overwrite again the one we made. So then we can go back to overwriting the P3 and everything should be connected now. So let's go ahead and try it. We don't even have to redrop anything back in the scene. So we can face this large rock. We break it open. It makes 2 small ones. We break those. It makes 4 small ones. Let me try and only break 1. And so that one made 2. The only thing is our 2 small ones aren't breakable at the moment, or collectible. But we can see we're getting the intended effect where they're spawning small ones. We can take a quick look at that before we continue. Our P4, we forgot to give a collectible component. So that way we could pick them up, you know, and take them to whatever quest giver. Quest giver's like, oh, you need to break some rocks so I can build my house. We're like, all right, I'm super strong. That's no problem for me. So we have our 2 collectible tiny rocks. We'll shift select, which I'm very glad that's back. So holding down shift, you can select multiple items, or you can drag and drop. And we'll go ahead and open up our preset menu once more. We'll click the final rock preset. We'll rename it. And done. So now, to wrap up this little experiment, we break the rock. We can break each of these rocks, each one of them dropping 2. So our last one dropping 2 small ones. We can break all of them and notice that we have a total of, I think, 8 rocks there, and they're all collectible. Fantastic. Excelente. Delightful. Can you do the opposite? Start with 4 small rocks, collect them, and have it spawn a large one. Ooh, Sparky. Is this a pop quiz, Sparky? So, yes, I would like to try this. That sounds fun. So let's try it. So we have, oh man, I'm kind of like thinking about it through my head, and right now it would require a lot more setup, but I want to walk through it and like talk through it because that sounds fun. So we have our small boulder here, and we're going to be making new presets. So we're starting from scratch again. So let's say we're kind of structuring something. We're building something. So we'll have a little section for our boulder here. And I'm going to use an invisible extra large boulder to kind of represent it. And we'll have a sign here, you know, for the player. So the player will notice. Oh, we're bugging. I can't drop the sign anywhere. Other stuff's fun though. Might have to restart GameMaker here. Yeah, my sign is very bugged. You can see my cursor. So I'll just restart real quick. Oh, VVox, you can shift click in the hierarchy. That is something I did not know. Okay, let me try that real quick. So we'll scroll down to our boulders. So you can shift click in the hierarchy. That is a great tool. Thank you for sharing that, VVox. So if you guys are curious, you can select more than one item in the hierarchy. So let's just have these two cactuses. And we'll label them easily so we can, you know, test it. So we'll search using the filters. And so having neither selected, you can click to select them. But now you can shift click and add them, you know, to your kind of multiple selections at the same time. So that's super useful. Thank you for sharing. All right, I do need to restart this experience because I was getting some bugs. But that's okay. These things happen. All right, so what we're going to attempt to do, let's see if my sign works now. So my sign does not want to work. Let me try adding it to my hotbar again. Huh. So the sign does not want to work at all. Is anybody else having problems like this? Okay. Well, we're going to try and push through. Yeah, welcome in. So what we'll attempt to do is we're going to have a collection quest. And we can use the quest system to help associate messages. So what will happen is we're rules or a quest here. I'll remake this so we don't get confused. Let me go and delete that one. We're going to start with make a rock snowman. Yeah, sure, why not? That sounds fun. A rock man because it's not snow. Collect 4 rocks to build the thorax. Ugh. Do snowmen have thorax or is it abdomen? I think it's an abdomen. So this is a great kind of I guess, refresher for quests. So with a quest, you can have them auto unlock, auto launch. Let's just say when you start the game, you can have a quest automatically be available. So that means unlocked. So that means you can get the quest whenever. If you have auto launch, that also means it'll immediately start when you start the game. For this particular quest, we're going to set up a requires message. So that means the quest is automatically available, so unlocked at the start of the game. And then we need a message. So we're going to have someone talk to us that says, hey, can you build a rockman for us? And so that's going to start the actual quest. So that's going to launch the quest. And so that one will have rock.start. So I personally use periods in all my messages instead of spaces, because spaces in general are harder to read from like a logic standpoint. So I would recommend periods, commas, your choice, but whatever it is, make it consistent. That would be all. That's like the best feedback I could give for like quests. It's just make sure it's consistent. All of your messages should follow the same kind of structure. Great. So our requires message, rock.start, that's going to tell the player, hey, you have a quest now. So our quest itself is going to be picking up the rocks. So we're going to be picking up anything with the tag rock. We'll pick up 4, so you can change how many. And then when we do pick up 4, it's going to auto-complete. Or we can have it say like, oh, you need to place these rocks, on a specific pedestal. So we'll try that. So we'll do rock.place 1. So I did rock.place.1. Because we might, if we're building a rock man or a snowman, we might have a second version of this. And then after that, we're going to start the next quest. So we can see here, I already did rock.start. Again, consistency is key here. So rock.start, we can do rock.finish. So that means we've completed that. Great. So now that we've set up that quest, let's go ahead and make sure it works before we continue. So we're going to use these smaller rocks here, and I'm going to set up 1. We have the rock tag. Again, we want 4 of them. And then when we collect all 4, we're going to place them on this asset here. So this asset, we can give a speaker component, detect, and for testing purposes, I often like to put the message in this text to display. Usually this would be used for dialogue. So like a character, an NPC would talk to you using that. What's that system where you capitalize the letter of the next word? Yeah, that's a good choice too as well, Slaterade. So I personally use periods, but if you just capitalize the word, that does mean you have to hold down the shift key. And if we're thinking like macroeconomics, whatever you want to call it, that means you're hitting an extra key. So it depends on how you look at it, really. So this rock.place.1. So that's the message going out. So it's going to detect the player when we get close and spit out that message. However, just as a recap with our quest, that is our completion message. But we can't complete the quest without first picking up the rocks. So we're going to go ahead and test that. The last thing we needed to do was the rock start quest. So for now, we'll have one of my NPCs over here. When we talk to him, so I'm going to do speaker, and I'm going to set up the debugging text. I often will do this even with my NPCs just to make sure the logic of a quest is working first. So we'll do rock.start. So again, that starts the quest, and that's going to be when we interact with them. So let's go ahead and test this out. So we can see here I have no quests, but when I talk to this character, I needed to set up the interaction response. So again, we interacted with him. He did spit out the message, but he didn't spit out the logic part of the message. So that'll be rock.start. So then we enter into the game, we talk to this character, it starts the quest, rock.start. Make a rock man. So now that we know that works, we can change his text above his head to be like, hey, can you help me build a snowman? Build a rock man? Again, if approach this rock, it spits out this message, which we already set up. But we can see I still have the quest on the right side of the screen, and I did not automatically complete it. So we can pick up these assets, which we need to give a collectible component. That would be the next step. So we'll do collectible. And because it has the rock tag, that's all we needed. So I'll go and delete these. And now we have the collectible collision. We have 4 of those. Great. Everything looks good to go. So we start. He's like, hey, make me a rock man. So we go pick these up. And again, like I can approach this large boulder and it won't do anything until I have actually completed the quest, aka found 4 items. Now if I approach it, it completes the quest, as we can see on the right side of the screen. So what comes next? Well, that would be us using that message to spawn an asset on top of this, and then finally we repeat the last part to get the head. So I hope that makes sense. Just to kind of finish up this experiment that Sparky suggested, we'll have this asset here. We'll have a fake boulder inside. So this boulder is going to be invisible, but will represent, what will happen when we actually finish the quest. And then we're going to continue to more preset related stuff. All I can hear is rock at this point. Rock, rock, rock. Rockety, rock, rock, rock. Bjorn, rock. You rock. All right, we're going to do an asset spawner. And we're going to be spawning a large boulder inside of itself. And again, we can also use presets within the asset spawners. So that's a great use of presets if you're building, like a rock snowman, for example. You could have this asset be destroyed and be replaced with, a pre-built snowman, rock, whatever that you've made. No, you rock. Oh, thanks, Bjorn. I'm glad somebody noticed. So we're looking at the asset spawner behavior. We can change the message required to be that same rock.finish. And with everything set up, we're pretty much good to go. The last thing I would probably do is hide the collisions for this, asset spawner. And then also toggle the invisibility. So now it is visible set to false. And because we did the rock.finish, by completing our quest, it's going to spawn the rock. Great. Yeah, auto hide delay's good. We only want to spawn one rock, so that's important to note. So we do want to ensure that we're not getting that message sent more than once. So we don't want multiple of these rocks to spawn. But luckily, the way we set it up from the start, rock.finish is only being spoken once through our quest. So if we go back to the rules quest section, we can see that the rock.finish is only after we complete the quest, which we can only do once. It's not like a repeatable quest. So we can see I can jump over, not there at the moment. We can start our quest. We can pick up our rocks. And now when I approach, it's going to spawn the rock. And you can use that kind of logic to set up relatively anything. Halfd0rk. Maxi, it's a work in progress. Okay, great. So that was a good little sample, little tutorial here. One thing I definitely want to recap is the way battle mechanics work. Right now, the way presets are structured, it kind of tampers with the AI of enemies. So I want to take a quick look at it. So I set up a little scene over here where we have an enemy. We have a cat. And when we, let's just say, defeat the cat. So we'll make sure the cat has very low health so we can just, use this for testing. But when we defeat the cat, we're going to have another cat spawn. And that cat is going to use everything this cat, already has associated. So predator, chasing area, all that. We'll go ahead and change it to melee enemy to keep it simple. And so we'll put like 10 health. And ideally, you can just use a respawn to tag. In fact, that's what we're going to use for now. So we're going to have this as our den. So we're tagging it as den. We're going to remove any of these random things that it added when we put this on the field. But all this asset is behind it. This cave is a den. The den itself, we're going to remove collisions for now because we don't want our assets to get stuck in it. We can change that later. We can adjust it. You're the bestest. Sparky, it takes the bestest to know the bestest. So we have our cat here that already has all this pre-designed stuff. We have a chasing zone, so it's only going to chase outside of this green area. It detects us, so like if we get close, it's going to notice us. So here's an example. We have our platform, so this is where I'll spawn. The cat will notice me once I enter into this yellow radius. So it'll look at me, but it probably won't chase me until I get into the green. And we can change what tags it's attacking. Let's just say it likes to gnaw on this bone over here. So we'll say it also likes to attack a bone. And we'll make sure this has a tag bone. And so lastly, we are looking to have the respawn tag set to den. And then finally, we want to have a health bar on it. Sure, we'll keep always a health bar. And now we're going to set up the preset. So we've finalized our cat. We can go to the preset button here on the left side of the screen. Clicking that, we'll add, using the create new, we'll just label it cat. And so when our cat dies, it's going to be respawning at this den. So what we can do is we can delete the cat, and the den will basically detect us. So we'll set up a detector here, and the higher the luck, so the green asset. So here's our egg shroom that I was looking for a reason to use it. Luckily, put one over here. I don't know why it's not letting me drag and drop it from my inventory today. But with our egg here, it's going to detect us. And when it does, it's going to spawn our cat. So this will be a one-time event. We're going to detect the player. So when the player walks into this radius, close to our den, we're going to spawn our cat. So we'll set up a new message here. And this time, because we're using a detector, we're going to do spawn cat, and it's only going once. We already set up the cat to keep respawning after we kill it, after we slay it. So player walks into this radius, it's detected by our speaker component, and when it is, it detects it one time and sends out spawn.cat. Lastly, with our den here, we'll do an asset. This is a one-time, because again, our detect, was set to only once. So we can do spawn.cat. And we'll set asset to spawn as preset. So we're using preset. Preset will be cat. Bada bing, bada boom. Now we can hop in. We might have to exit that space real quick. Great. So the cat has spawned. And now when we walk into its radius, it's going to chase me. It looks like it's working as intended. However, this is the part where I have to inform you that presets do not work well with enemies. So we can see I'm actually not dealing any damage to him. And that is unfortunately a pretty big bug. So with enemies specifically, you're not going to want to use presets. So instead, you'll want to stop at the respawn to tag portion and just use that. So that's kind of why I gave that disclaimer beforehand, and I wanted to demonstrate and show you that. Had that with your Care Bears. Yep. Yeah, Bajorn, it is alpha. I know a lot of us are, frustrated when things don't work, but at the same time, it's our duty to help, improve the product. Like, we are a part of something greater. And the sandbox can be better with your help. So with all that being said, our preset already set up. At least the cat spawned. So the cat did spawn. Everything worked outside of its health pool. If we really wanted to, instead of a preset, we can just change it back to just a normal default Azrael. And then using the asset spawner, you could give it the behaviors that you need. And these are going to be set to default. So it's going to have the default melee enemy. And by default, we'll want to give it some health so that we can slay it. Lastly, the message required still needed to be our spawn cat. So there's our cat, spawns, chases us. And it should be destroyable. And so it's using the default stats. And so that's actually a much larger. Cool. So that was that example. Let's go ahead and take another look at maybe doors. So with the preset doors, we could have, like an old man that is hiding between one of the two doors. And maybe we can even set it up to where it's randomized. So let me think how we could randomize that. That might be fun. Ooh, that might be too complicated for the last couple minutes of our session, but that'll be my experiment unless we have more questions. So if anybody has more questions, feel free. Another thing, when you look in the inventory for presets, there's another option for logic. Yeah, so Maxi, I noticed that too. And logic, let me go ahead and point out what Maxi's talking about. We currently can't do anything with it, but we can theorize. So on the left side here, we have a section for logic. So what I'm assuming, and Maxi's also kind of guessing at this too, is that's going to be like, think the asset itself. So if we take a look at the door here, we can see this is the logic. This is the behavior and the component. Perhaps in the future, we can just attach this to any asset. So rather than, presetting an asset, we can see is going to already come with whatever we set up when we made the preset. Instead, we'll be able to attach, logic from this menu directly to whatever asset. So let's just say this grass, for example, I wanted to turn into a door. I would be able to use that. That's what I'm hoping it'll do, and very, assuming, of course. But yeah, thank you again, everybody, for watching. We're going to be wrapping up the show 10 minutes from now. If you have questions, now's the time to ask. Would love to walk through, whatever mechanics you're struggling with in your own experiences or want to learn how to do. Perhaps there's even an alpha experience where you really enjoyed, like watching today's Quest to Try logo, seeing those platforms rotate and how to make that happen. So our old man here, I want him to show up only after we knock on the door. So maybe we have to knock on the door a couple times. That might be fun. Vox Machina. Yeah. Let me just start from the top. Over here, we have our rocks, our boulders. No. But what we can do is we can interact with this door. So let's try setting something up. So I'm going to remove the door. So we're starting from scratch here. And I'm going to interact with the door. So we're going to give it a speaker component. And so this is me going into like experimentation mode. So stick along for the ride. Again, ask your questions if you have them. So we can knock on the door every 1 second. Every time we knock on the door, it's going to send out a knock message. Those knock messages, we're going to attach to a killable item. So for now, let's just duplicate one of these. Remove this, remove that. Give it a health component that will die on the message knock. And we want these to die immediately. So we're going to give it a negative death delay. This is only really useful to kind of remove any animations. So let's just say, as an example, your old man had a death delay of 2. That means he would play his animation falling over and dying. If he has 0, that means he's going to fall over, and before he hits the ground, he's already dead and he's exploded. That's how health components work in the sandbox. But if you have a negative death delay on an old man, or any asset for that matter, it's instant. Animation doesn't play. Negative death delay just allows it to send the message, receive the message, etc. Hey, King of Crypto, welcome in. How's it going? Yeah, great weekend. Happy Labor Day for everybody, if you celebrate labor. What? Okay, so our knock message, we're going to send some damage, I would like. So I want to set up a unique mechanic. So here's the idea that we're going to set up. We knock on the door 3 times. On the 4th time, the door is going to pretty much open. So we are going to have to add the door opening. And then the old man says, "What do you want?" So that's what we're gonna make. So I'm hoping I can make it. So what we're gonna do is we're going to reset this asset every time the knock message goes out. And when we do, we're gonna send out knock damage. So knock.damage, that's gonna be a new message. And we're gonna send that to a message broadcaster. I like to do acronyms, so MB for message broadcaster. Now I need another lamp. I like to use yellow ones for message broadcasters. So this lamp here, message broadcaster, MB on the tag, we're going to make it send out, or I should say receive, that first message. And so the message being sent from this message broadcaster is going to be damage. And we'll get to that in a second. We'll do 5 for now. And it's going to be sent to a specific tag. I'm going to get a red one ready. This red one is basically going to be our timer. It's going to be what accepts, the 3 knocks. So the way, I'm structuring this in my mind and then kind of like making it into game format, logic format, is we interact with this door. Every time we interact, this asset dies. When this asset has died 3 times, it has dealt enough damage to this asset to where the door will open and our old man will yell at us. So that's the way that's going to work. So let's go ahead and keep with the logic and setting that up. And then we can preset this and set it up to where, the character is knocking on doors and they have to knock, a couple times to get a result, pretty much. So presetting, allows you to pre-build something of this nature, of magnitude. So there's going to be 5 assets in this. So again, the first one is accepting that knock. So every time we knock, it's receiving this message. And we're going to hide the health bar. We don't need to see it. And so the message being sent is knock.damage. Knock.damage is allowing us to communicate between these 2 assets. I don't know, and I actually want to test this real quick before we go to our message broadcaster here, if our health components can just send damage to each other. So just as an example, I wanted to test if instead of knock.damage, I could just do damage 5 and then send it to our red item here. So if this is set up correctly, because this is something I'm curious if it'll work. I don't think it works. Yeah. So we can't send damage messages to from the health components. So that's why I needed this yellow one, this intermediary. So yeah, again, experimentation stuff. Great. So we're going back to the knock.damage. That's going to be sent to our message broadcaster. That's this yellow item. This yellow item is going to receive, so wait before broadcast. This will be knock.damage. And it's going to be reduced delay, so we can spam it if we want to. And it's sending to the red tag damage 5. And so this has 15 health. So again, we're knocking 3 times or 4. That means this after being destroyed, send damage to this to send out, finally, damage 5. When we've dealt 5 damage to this asset, it's going to open the door. And we're going to destroy this asset. So this is not going to respawn, much like our knocking white lamp did. And instead, our red lamp here, when it is destroyed after receiving 3 knocks, so each knock deals 5 points of damage, totaling to 15. When it's destroyed, we're going to send out a message. That message being sent on death will be open.door. And we're going to send it to our door. And we'll send it to our old man. So these are the tags we're going to set up now. We have a door tag and an old man tag. With our old man, he's going to shout something using that same message. Go away, I'm not home. And that message was our open door. So when open door is received, he says, go away, I'm not home. And then our door will also open. So we can set up that door behavior. And the message required, instead of interaction, will be open door. Great. So that's set up. That's good to go. And the knocking should still work. Yeah, let's go ahead and test it. So we run up to the door. We knock. We knock. We knock. So something's missing because we want to see this asset receiving the damage. So we can have the always life bar displayed. We have tag red. I don't think this message is receiving it. So knock.damage. So our health component. Oh, I didn't reset this. Okay, this is why we look and review our work. Now it should work. So we can see our red health bar there. We knock. We knock. So this is not currently communicating, but it is dying. Resetting when we get the knock message. Then when it dies, we're still sending out damage. Sometimes this happens. You have to type the entire message again. I was selecting, from the drop down. It wasn't saving it. So we can click it again. Now it's saved it. So now it should work. Great. So we can see I dealt 5 damage. Dealt 5 damage. Dealt 5 damage. Now it opens. Our vagabond merchant says, hey, I'm not. Yay. It would have been so embarrassing if that didn't work. Raid? All right, we can start a raid. Could this use secret knock? You could do like a rat-a-tat-tat, tat-tat. You could even set this up to where it requires a character to constantly spam, like let's just say 20 times before the door opens. And so this is a fun kind of tool you could use, and hopefully, someone found this tutorial useful. If there's any other questions, I am more than happy to answer them. And thank you very much for the raid. Welcome in. My name's Halfd0rk. I represent the Sandstorm for game maker related kind of activity. So if you guys have any questions about, what you could make, how you can make it, I'm happy to answer them. Also, yes, if you are interested in Sandstorm off stream, so Discord's a great way to keep in contact with us and all the things we're doing in the Sandstorm. Ooh, that sounds cool. We're doing all these things in the Sandstorm. But yeah, thank you so much for the raid. We're actually wrapping up pretty soon here. So if there's any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to get a raid started of our own. So we're going to piggyback raid. But this was a good note to end on with our secret door. And we can adjust the health of this door to whatever we like. So now it's got 50 health. So we have to like spam it until we can, open the door. And you can see me walking back and forth. That's because the message actually stays up on screen. But, it's hidden. So I'm actually spamming the button right now. I actually have to step away in order for it to reset. That wasn't a problem before, but we can take a look here at our interaction message. I had an auto hide of 1. So that's why I had to walk away. Because it basically thought the player was still standing there, is the best way to describe it. So now I can just spam the door. Knock, knock, knock. Go away, I'm not home. And then I just kind of dance in front of them. Yep, that's the story. Yo, I thought I changed it. Oh, that's a rip. It says we're still in talk shows and podcasts. Oh well. So we're going to go ahead and raid into the sandbox. So thank you everybody for watching again. I hope you learned something new. Looks like Go West is live. We're totally raiding Go West. He's a good friend of ours. So stick around for the raid. Thank you again, everybody, for watching. Hope you learned something new. And thank you again, Wet Noodle 1 for the raid. Yeah, let's keep the raid going. So shout out Wet Noodle 1 for that one. Let's see. So we want go west 927. If this works. Oh, nice. It's raiding. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We're wrapping up the show now.